Welcome all sports fans, YouTubers, Facebookers, all social media across the nation. This is Uneducated Sports Talk presenting college casual football talk. I'm your host, Carlos Clayton, also with Brian Wilkinson. What's up, baby boy? Once again, we're going to recap Week 6, preview Week 7. A lot of drama going on in the SEC and much more to talk about. Texas is the talk around town right now. Texas versus Oklahoma, the Red River Shootout. Once again, Team B-Dub. They go 3-1 now. What a freaking crazy game. That was a crazy game. Texas beat by up as much as 21 points. And, of course, you knew that Murray in the game were going to come back and make it competitive. Oklahoma, their offense is crazy. But Texas showing poise to rebound, showing that last drive to actually win the game. And, by the way, a game-winning field goal. So, great guts from the kicker as well. This game was what college sports is all about. You know it best. I know you're in love with this series every single year, man. Talk about how the game went down, man.
That absolutely most impressive thing to me was how dominant Texas was on defense for the first 3 quarters of this football game. Because it was, like you said, Texas was up as much as 21 coming in the third quarter. And the game looked like Oklahoma just looked dead. They looked like they were moving the ball up and down the field, but they weren't scoring anything. And you were just like, they look kind of lost. They look kind of confused. They don't know how to not score. And Texas just being that dominant on defense was not only refreshing but surprising, especially considering the caliber of offense that Oklahoma brings to the table. Right. But the 2 quarterbacks dueling it out. Sam Ellinger absolutely lighting up the scoreboard, as well as Kyler Murray coming up, being able to come to life in the fourth quarter, and combining for the most total points in Red River rivalry history, 48 being the most points Oklahoma's ever allowed in this game.
Right.
And the trending on this is this game, the points keep going up. The last 5 years, each combined score has been higher than the previous one.
That's more towards the offenses going on, especially one is Big 12. And now it's just more focus on offense. NFL and college football have gone totally bonkers with the offensive rules. More NFL than college football, to be honest. But this game symbolized college football at its best. 2 great programs.
Absolutely.
My thing is, I'm just so mad. Like, why did Texas have to lose to Maryland in the beginning? It would have been like that much more bonkers if they were both undefeated coming here. But anyways, Texas to beat TCU and to beat Oklahoma in essentially the same month, pretty much. That shows that this Texas team is for real, and I wasn't too big on them, but my guys, everyone gave Tom Herman so much flack last year, and now he's reaping the benefits. Got to understand that last year wasn't really his team. So some of his guys coming in now, and you're starting to see the benefits of what he can bring to a program, and I'm excited for this Texas team. We'll talk a little more on them later on about how they're now probably the hunted instead of being the hunters anymore.
Definitely in the driver's seat.
Texas in the top 10 at number 9. I didn't see that coming, to be honest. What do you see? Can this team actually have a chance to make noise and, probably go to the playoffs?
I think now, obviously, the CFP committee doesn't release their rankings until the end of October, so we got a little ways to go. But the AP being bold enough to actually toss them in the top 10 after that win, I think absolutely they can.
Huge win.
I think absolutely they can make some noise and play a factor in that race as it comes down the stretch if they take care of business the way they need to.
Oklahoma drops to number 11, but there's still a chance. They have plenty of teams to face. West Virginia's still in the mix as well, undefeated. They're still the top dogs right now. So it's going to be a great Big 12 just because of the caliber of teams we're going to see and the offenses and the shootouts we're going to see from each game from week to week. So we'll talk about that. But let's talk about LSU versus Florida. LSU goes into the swamp. They're that swamp in Florida. And they come out the losers in this game, 27-19. Florida showed, I guess, poise, and kind of LSU was kind of the opposite. Just mental mistakes, maybe you can kind of say, because LSU had this game. At one point up 19-14, you had this game. All you had to do was just play regular LSU defense, and they gave up this unbelievable drive that you never thought that LSU would give up this particular season. Florida driving down pretty much the length of the field to score a touchdown to go 20-19. And I am very curious on your thoughts. How did you think about this game? And do you still think that Burrows is the quote-unquote right quarterback for this team?
I think he is. I am a little bitter that they lost this game, and I do think there was some poor officiating in that Florida drive that led to that touchdown. But we're not going to talk about that right now. What we are going to talk about is LSU's off to a much better start than anybody in the known universe gave them the ability to have. Joe Burrow has been a huge reason behind that. He's got this year and next year in eligibility, and he plans on using both of them.
Yes.
So to have this loss and that kind of a mistake on that interception at the end of the game, I don't want to say it bodes well for you, but it's a good learning moment to have in a season when nobody really expected you to do anything anyway. So for them to be making this kind of noise and Burrow to be having the kind of season that he is, where he's publicly stated that he graduated early so that these 2 years he could focus on football. So you're thinking
that's
like
crazy. A guy to graduate.
Yeah,
he's just straight up football, nothing else. It's football, baby.
You're thinking these 2 years are really his learning years for a guy that wants to get to the NFL. So if you're talking about a learning year with that mistake, they were in the driver's seat for the majority of the game, being up as much as 2 scores in the first half, and then sort of having that duel, quote unquote, at the end, and just sort of that one mental break. Just don't telegraph your receivers. So you telegraph that throw way too much.
I think if LSU continues to drive, complete that first down, that 3rd and 4, continue to drive and just kick a field goal, I think they win the game.
Probably.
I mean, I think the defense comes up big. I mean, that's neither here or there, but it just tells you how much one play swung momentum. And it's almost like LSU down by 8 points, need a big drive in Florida. I just didn't see it happening. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. LSU gets their first loss. Florida, I said on my last show, I was like, I felt like Florida was losing every game, and I come out and I'm like, oh, they're 4-1. Just, okay, well now they're 5-1. So I mean, they haven't lost every game. They've lost one game. So it's good for their resume. The SEC, although it's not what it used to be 7, 8 years ago, it is still a tough conference, and there is no easy pickings for any team in this conference outside of Alabama. But even for them, they have tough matchups too coming down late. So.
Speaking of that conference and the shift in the divisions, I don't know, so to speak, however you want to talk about it, let's talk about that one team that beat Florida, Kentucky.
That's right. This was crazy because Kentucky, you almost felt like it was just too good to be true. And most people, of course myself, but guys like me rooted for Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Like just to have some kind of miracle season, to be somewhere in the top 10. If they pull this game off against Texas A&M, they're pretty much in the top 10, I would believe. And Texas A&M comes out and, look, 20-14, Texas A&M wins in overtime. But this game was basically given to Texas A&M because they go out with 2 turnovers to Kentucky 0. Kentucky goes 2 for 13 on 3rd downs. You can't win any type of game. And, of course, 1 touchdown came from defense. So Kentucky, their first big road test outside of Florida, the first game against Florida, but their first big game as the Dogs now. They know someone that's relevant. And Texas A&M, like we both said, their only 2 losses came to basically the top, probably 2 of the best teams in the country, Clemson and Alabama. So I had a feeling Texas A&M was going to win this game, but I was definitely rooting for Kentucky because I just want to see something different in the SEC. But Texas A&M, they did what they had to do to win the game in overtime, and Kentucky's season is like that. And I get a feeling now they're going to start coming back down to earth, with that loss. I hope not. I really hope not. But a game like this where you had a chance to win going into overtime and you messed yourself up pretty much for those 3rd down conversions not being completed, I might see them spiraling down because the conference only gets tougher. Kentucky plays a lot of tough teams down the stretch.
For any Kentucky fans out there watching this video, Jimbo Fisher's pedigree is in defense. Let's not forget that. Right. He runs a tight unit. That's what he was known for at Florida State. He was defensive coordinator at LSU under Nick Saban when he was there. So, man is a defensive wizard. 3 for 12 is not an uncommon stat line for teams that play against his defenses. Yeah. And most importantly, Kentucky's still in it. Yeah. They beat Florida, which means in the East, they really only have to go through Georgia. If they can beat Georgia somehow,
nothing to hold your head down.
They're still looking good.
I just got a feeling that just this one loss can kind of get their confidence shattered down that fast and come back to reality. And I hope not. I really hope not.
This is where head coaching plays in and the ability to get your guys ready for that next game and make sure they don't break down like that.
Yes, sir. Notre Dame versus Virginia Tech was one of the highlighted games. Even though Virginia Tech was out with their quote-unquote phenom quarterback, we both kind of figured Notre Dame. Well, I figured Notre Dame would roll through this, and we both kind of figured it would smash. And at one point in the second quarter, it was a 17-16 game, and all of a sudden, Dexter Williams, 97-yard touchdown for Notre Dame, which pretty much breaks the spirits of Virginia. Virginia Tech. If you go on and you check the stats out, you will see stat for stat, these two teams were even passing yards, rushing yards. Basically, the turnover battle, time possession was pretty close as well. Matter of fact, Virginia Tech had more time possession by about 8 minutes. And you say, well, how did they lose this game like this? And then you realize the red zone made the big difference for this game. Or the ability to score touchdowns instead of field goals. So basically, when Notre Dame gets in there, they're scoring 6 every time. 45 points, that means you scored 6 touchdowns. Well, of course, 23 points for Virginia Tech, that means you're kicking a lot of field goals. And that was the difference. And that showed you the offenses, the physicality. Notre Dame's offense, way more physical than Virginia Tech. And Virginia Tech's offense isn't that much more physical than Notre Dame's defense. So, a big win for Notre Dame. This was probably the last, big road test. And they're still undefeated. So they have a very promising schedule. I want to get your thoughts. We talked about this last week, but now with the surefire huge victory over Virginia Tech, it's a hostile crowd no matter what. I mean, if you see a Virginia Tech team at night, that game, it is beautiful, and the crowd is in it. Now they weren't in it so much in the fourth quarter, but the first 3 quarters they're definitely loud, and that's not an easy place to go into and just get a huge victory like that.
No, definitely not. Notre Dame is very firmly set in the driver's seat. I think they'll be in the top 3 come around the end of the season, just based on the rest of their schedule and the priorities of the CFP seem to be giving to. They are saying they're coming down the strength of schedule a lot, but when you're doing that, they're talking about, everybody was saying, well, why isn't UCF in because they're undefeated? Well, Notre Dame and UCF are 2 different schools. Notre Dame's pedigree is much higher. They're just going to get a better look. So when you're talking about an undefeated Notre Dame team, which they should be, their only real test that they have left, if you want to call it that, is USC at the end of the season. So by all accounts, Notre Dame should be in the top 3. They should be in the playoff this season, where they feel like they kind of got left out. Well, none of that this season. Clean up shop,
right? And
they're basically in.
Yeah, UCF doesn't have a Stanford, Michigan, or Virginia Tech on their schedule at all. So that's the difference between the two, because if UCF is like, man, we got to start scheduling some competition now. If we're going to keep being good like this, we got to schedule some competition, because they had a big victory, I believe, over SMU, I believe, and they destroyed them pretty much handily, 48-20. But teams like that is not going to get you a great resume to get into the top 4, no matter how undefeated you really are. Now, you get a good bowl game. You will get a bowl game against a really good team. And if you win that, you can go up there and say, we're back-to-back national champions. So, you know, man, in all seriousness, no. UCF is a good team, excuse me. But they had scheduled at least one really good team, then things went different. I do feel bad for them not playing North Carolina, having that game chopped off, because that would have been a Power 5 victory if they would have won the game. And let's talk about Auburn versus Mississippi State. Sticking with the SEC, what a bad loss for Auburn. It was a pretty bad loss. Number 9 Auburn versus number 23 Mississippi State. I mean, excuse me. They lose 23-9. I don't know why I said that. That was crazy. But they lose 23-9 in a very bad game. Nick Fitzgerald for Mississippi State. He has just been amazing. He ran for over 195 yards, 28 carries. Passing yards, we don't care about that with him. But this game was tough to watch as an Auburn fan. Where's the offense gone? Where did it go? You get 2 losses, LSU, a heartbreaking loss to LSU. And then you lose Mississippi State, who isn't, we've seen now, they just got into the top 25 again.
No, their formula was very simple. Get ahead on that first drive and just,
just plays great
hold on to the ball.
Yes.
Just hold on to the ball.
And they're grounding and pounding, man. And my question to you is Auburn down? 2 losses already in the season.
Auburn is out. Because you're talking about Alabama is in the same division, not only in the same conference, but in the same division within that conference. So they're they're going to be vying for that championship game. LSU, even though they just lost to Florida, beat Auburn and still only has the one loss. So they do have to play Alabama. They also have to play Georgia this week. So we could be talking about a whole different scenario, in a couple of weeks. But for right now, you're talking about LSU and Alabama are the top two dogs in the Western Division of the Western Division of the SEC. That's what I meant to say. Auburn is pretty much done, and with that loss,
That's a tough loss. Like you see LSU. LSU's that team. They always play each other tough, and then we know Mississippi State is an SEC game, but to show the effort they gave, to only score 9 points, that's tough to see.
Yeah,
because Mississippi State has lost like 2 of the last 3 games, I believe, in their schedule, and to come out and get a victory like this, big for them, but very bad for Auburn. So SEC is getting flipped up. Everywhere we go now. Let's talk about, that's our Week 6 recap. Let's break down our Week 7 preview. And we got a few monster games going in. The biggest one is going to be B-Dubs, LSU Tigers, as they play host to the Georgia Bulldogs. So we're going to break that down. Georgia versus LSU, man. How do you see this game going out? Who you got winning the game? Woosah.
It's a tough call. I'm going to stick with the Tigers. I think Joe can bounce back. He's going to go in and watch a film from last game. He's going to see how badly he telegraphed that interception that ended up being a difference in the game. But outside of that, he did have the 2 picks, but for what the game was, he didn't make any really bad mistakes except for that last one at the end. But that was that's just a, hey, it is the SEC. You're on the road, but you gotta rise over that type of mistake. He was just trying to make something happen at the end of the game, but they had the ball with the opportunity to win the game. They had been the dominant team for most of the game. So I think he goes back. He learns from that. Georgia has been good. They've looked really good. The one knock on Georgia right now is that their schedule is soft this year.
Right.
They've been putting up big points, but it's been against not good opposition, and
so we'll find out about them real quick.
The offense doesn't strike me as better than last year, and the defense doesn't strike me as better than last year. And I think this is going to be a fantastic game. It's going to be an afternoon cap on CBS.
This guy's not a big fan of that.
No.
He's not a big fan of the
No,
thing.
it hurts. But I'm going to take LSU. I'm going to take LSU, and I'm going to take it. I'll take it 28-24.
Ooh, all right. High score. I like that. I'm going with Georgia. So guess what, guys? You know what that means? That is our B-Dub versus CeeLo's. Who's going to win this one? This is the game of the week, and it's going to be our pick of the week, too. So I'm going with Georgia. He's going with LSU. I got Georgia because I think, one, them and Alabama have been severely under the radar just because how dominant they are.
Yeah.
No one's been talking about them at all. But I think Georgia's finally going to get some love because now they play against a good team, LSU.
On the road.
On the road. So they better win for Team CeeLo's fans. We know that. But I think that Georgia's going to come out there and have a statement victory and let the whole country know, hey, Bama isn't the only team that's really, really dominant this year. It's us as well. Now, Bama's going to get love regardless. Not a lot of love this year because they're so dominant. But they still got all the things going around. Mm-hmm. The ESPN talks about them, all the turmoil in there, so that they get the talks. The reports coming from Alabama. But Georgia's been very quiet. Yeah, dominating victory over Vanderbilt last week. So I got a feeling they're gonna come out there and test LSU. I'm going with Georgia 31, LSU 20. 31-20.
All right.
And it's going to be a fantastic game, though.
Yeah. Notably, this is coming into a tough stretch for both teams, though. This is going to be the toughest stretch of Georgia's schedule because they're going to have to go on the road to LSU. They're going to have the neutral site game versus Florida. Yeah. And they got Tennessee to back that up. LSU, meanwhile, went to Florida, comes home to play Georgia. They go to Starkville, I believe, to play Mississippi State, and then they get a bye week, and then they have Alabama after the end of that bye week. So, toughest stretch of both teams' schedules.
Can't wait. For Tennessee, I don't know why you even said Tennessee. They're just going to volunteer a loss. Yeah, I've been waiting. I've been holding it. But anyways, that's not the only big game on the schedule. We have Washington versus Oregon. And not really quietly, but kind of quietly, Washington is the best team in the Pac-12. And
once again,
their defense is by far the best defense in the division and in the conference, But they face a team that can score points in Oregon. This is going to be a really good game. I'm more interested in this game than the LSU and Georgia game because Washington being there one, if they can get this victory, I think they're cemented for the season to only have one loss because their defense is that much better than the rest of the Pac-12's offense, defense as well. And I think if Washington can score a lot of points, then their defense will hold back, but Oregon is a tough offense, and it's going to be in Eugene, Oregon, so you never know. But I'm going with Washington in this game. I think that they have just the overall team, not the most explosive offense that they had in the past, but I think their defense smothers you so much. They almost remind me of an SEC type of defense, and you bring that kind of defense into a Pac-12 team, then we usually know what happens when the spread them outs face the Bamas or whatever. I mean, yes, some teams, if you're a really good team like Clemson in the day and Texas A&M with Johnny Manziel, they'll get victories. But most of the time, it just doesn't happen against teams like Alabama or whatever. So I'm looking at Washington with a big win against Oregon and kind of telling the world, hey, we're not the only teams besides Georgia and Alabama that's kind of being dominant. They have one loss in the neutral site against Auburn, neutral road game. So, give them a little
Very
break.
good.
I'm kind of backing off a little bit. Who you got going?
I'm taking Washington in this one too, but for a different reason. I just don't believe in Oregon's defense.
That's
Quite
true
simple.
too.
I think Oregon's going to put up points. I think Washington's going to put up more points by virtue of playing against the worst defense because Washington does have the better defense in this matchup. Plain and simple.
I think I've used the word quietly about 5 times already in this segment. I'm going to say for the 6th time, quietly, Michigan is number 12.
Yeah.
And they're facing Wisconsin. And quietly, that's the 7th time I said that, they lost to a Notre Dame team who's still undefeated, who's going to be a top 5 team this week. That's a great loss.
That is.
That is a great loss. So that's under their resume. Now, they had to come back against Maryland. They had a slow start against Maryland, and but that was a team that beat Texas. So, you know, they want to win by 21 points. So now you're thinking, like, is Michigan really going to be the Michigan I'm hoping to be? Because, last year I was all over Michigan.
Yeah.
I was like, they're going to the playoffs and they're going to lose in the finals to Bama. That didn't happen at all.
Well, if they want to build that up, this is the place to start. They did lose to Notre Dame, but Notre Dame is looking like a top 3 contender right now. But beat Wisconsin and do it handily because both teams play the same type of football.
Yeah.
So this is not going to be a pretty game for those of you that like to watch offense. This is going to be one of those games you want to turn off. But if you're a really good football strategy fan, the grind it out defensive kind of games, man, this is going to be a fun game for you to watch. And if they can do something similar to what they did in Maryland, where they, it's kind of a fight for the first half of it and then just put it away in the second half and be done with it, you're looking at some very intriguing storylines in the Big Ten.
I'm going with Michigan in this game. I'm going Michigan, like you said, a kind of a grinded out game, but I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to give a weird number. I'm going to say Michigan wins 20-19.
2019.
Yeah, I think they get a grinded out victory in Wisconsin. Wisconsin, that team that lost to BYU earlier in the year, that's not them. We all know that.
Yeah.
But I think they'll bounce back. But I think Michigan is kind of like, hey, if we can beat Wisconsin, you got Ohio State and Penn State up by some kind of way. They're not going to win those games. They're not going to win all 3 of them. But I think they will upset somebody, whether it be Wisconsin, Ohio State, or Penn State. So I'm very interested to see what happens with Michigan for the rest of the remainder of the season.
Definitely going to be a team to watch.
Could play spoiler. Could play spoiler to somebody.
Yeah, I'll take Michigan in a low-scoring game for this one as well. The Wisconsin's side of the Big Ten is not as tough as Michigan's side of the Big Ten, so they don't play as tough a competition. They have played the title game tough in recent years. I will give them that, but I think Michigan will take this one like a 17-10.
All right, B-Dub, I want you to take it home for us, man. Texas. Now, we all talked about them and this big victory over Oklahoma. We talked about that in the beginning of the segment. But now we're going to break down their schedule. And I just want you to give me, what do you really think? Is this Texas team that good? Are they showing us a glimpse of the future, what it could be like, or are they ready right now? Break it down, so.
I think they are ready. I think Tom Herman is an offensive coach. Everybody knows that. The Big 12 is an offensive league. Everybody knows that. This Texas team plays defense.
Yeah.
This Texas team plays. I know the scores don't kind of show it, but when you're playing against those
Oklahoma
teams in
team,
the Big 12,
it's gonna be tough. You can't be
put up
perfect.
points. They're gonna put up points, but This Texas squad plays defense. The big marquee matchup that they're going to be looking for after this is in 2 weeks. They're going to be playing West Virginia in Austin, and that's going to be kind of a deciding game for the Big 12.
Yeah.
They did institute a championship game last year, but there are no divisions in the Big 12. So what's going to happen is it's going to be number 1 versus number 2. So if Texas can go in and win this game versus West Virginia at home, which they should, I'll put an asterisk next to that should, because West Virginia is a very good team.
Mm-hmm.
They travel well. They travel really well.
They do. They do.
So playing that away game might not be as easy for Texas to get, especially since they're more of a fledgling team. It's Tom Herman's second year. West Virginia, their coach has been up there for who knows how long. Will Grier was already a star caliber quarterback at Florida, and they just put up points all day long. So if Texas can take care of that victory, pretty much cements them at the 1 spot in the Big 12. And then you're talking about waiting to see who out of the West Virginia and Oklahoma matchup is going to rematch. So really, Texas season is all about, can they win that rematch?
In a nutshell, for myself, I'm not so much worried about Texas when they face against big competition. I'm more worried about them when they face the smaller teams. We saw they squeaked out a 19-14 victory over Kansas State, being up 19-0, but one of them, having to sweat it out of the end. Those are the teams, the Baylors, the Oklahoma State. Those are the 2 teams I'm worried about before the West Virginia game. I'm just hoping, as Texas fans, I hope that they win these 2 games because we love drama.
Yeah.
We love drama. If you lose one of these 2 games, Baylor or Oklahoma State, the drama is gone for Texas for the season. So you want to see drama towards the end. You want to see hopefully an undefeated West Virginia team versus a 1-loss Texas team to where that could decide greatly the Big 12. So I'm nervous for them.
I think the deciding factor is that these Texas offensive guys have bought into Tom Herman's scheme, and they've learned to put up that padding for the defense. Like you said, they were up 19-0 at Kansas State, and the defense just had to not give that away.
Yeah.
They were up 3 scores versus Oklahoma, and the defense had to just not give that away.
Yeah.
So I think this offense has learned to help out that defense down there, and I think that's what's going to get them through. I think they're going to make it through those small games because of their ability now to play with a lead.
Gotcha. Well, Texas is looking strong. The Big 12 is interesting all over again. So we're excited for it. Please like and subscribe to Uneducated Sports Talk and Uneducated Network to see myself and Brian Wilkinson as well. And give us your comments down below. Who do you got winning against LSU in Georgia? And who you got for Washington, Oregon? Please just comment down below. Tell us how you feel about what's going on. And anything else to add to this, brother?
No, that about wraps it up for this week.
Well,
Come and catch us back next week.
Yeah, that's right. For B-Dub Brian Wilkinson, I'm your host, Carlos Clayton. This is College Casual Football Talk. All sports fans, you guys know what time it is. Stay smart, stay uneducated. Peace.